I find that I attract people who are wanting to raise their vibration. They may not have that language, but they're needing something else. They've been to medical doctors, they've been to holistic doctors, and they're looking for something else. And they find me by referral or by internet search. What I want to do and what my mission and purpose is in life is to empower people, to help people transform their physical, emotional, or spiritual bodies so that they can manifest health, happiness, whatever it is that they need.
Wow. I mean, that is a huge mission. Do you see evidence of you living that mission now in your childhood?
Well, isn't that interesting? You know, I was just talking about that with a colleague today.
Yeah.
And we come here to experience what we're not,
Yeah.
so that we can remember who we are. Yeah. We are divine spiritual beings having a human experience. And we choose our childhoods to create, in many instances, certainly in mine, an environment that we have to either stay in or fight like anything to get out of. So I believe that you were born perfect. I think about it as if there were like a white chalkboard, or when you were born, it's clean. Yeah. And then things happen and messages get written, not good enough, not lovable. And obviously those are blessings in disguise. But if we wish to wake up, if that was our purpose in this lifetime, then we'll recognize that and we'll get uncomfortable, and relationships will fail or struggle, and careers will fail and struggle, and health will become a challenge. And those are the messages from the universe, God, whatever your word is, that something needs to shift or change. So I really tune into those messages.
So tell me about your personal experience with that.
One of the things I read in a book was, you know, your parents did the best they could at the time they raised you. Stop blaming them and move on, you know, and look at your own behavior and that sort of thing. I think that was kind of the jumping point. We were raised as Christian Scientists, so medical profession was just not a thing in our lives.
Wow.
Not Scientology. And so when I realized that I wanted to be a chiropractor, that took me a little while to rationalize that with how I was raised. But then I realized that that too was a springboard, because, you know, that a religion for me was really just the beginning understanding, and so I've broadened my understanding since then.
So do you feel there were seeds of the encourager, the nurturer, the healer in you growing up that you were aware of? Or did they spring fully formed on you sometime in your 30s?
Well, that's fair. I would say that I was born to do what I'm doing without question. It was just a path to get here, because if you were to ask my 4-year-old little girl if she was smart enough or if she was bright enough to go to chiropractic school or help people, she would have said no. She was always very sweet, but that wasn't the message she received.
But the seeds were planted there.
I think I came in with them, yes.
Yeah. So how did they come to your awareness?
Through a process. And I think having kind of an emotionally challenging childhood, I was always seeking help. I think seeing people who were not well encouraged me to want to find people who were well. I do remember I went to a chiropractor when I had an infection in my 20s, And I was thinking doctor, or I didn't know what to do. And my sister said, go to my chiropractor. I'm like, whatever. So went to the chiropractor and changed my diet, did some detoxing, got some adjusting done. I never felt so good. My anger issues, right, all feeling better. I'm like, there's something to this. Then we had children, and several things happened with the kids. My son was getting ear infections. My daughter tripped and hurt her neck really bad. And so went back to the chiropractor. And I realized that because my husband at the time was very medically minded, that we were going back and forth between medical, just to kind of have a balance. And I'm just like, I need to go back and do this myself, because I didn't have any confidence that I knew what I was doing, but I had to get the confidence because my instincts were there.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the facts to back it up, right?
Yeah.
So I went back to school and became a chiropractor and opened my practice on my 40th birthday.
So what does being a chiropractor mean?
What it means to me now is that when I'm working with someone's emotions that are stuck in their body, or if I'm working on some energy that's stuck in their field, I have the knowledge to shift the nervous system and improve that instantly. Maybe not instantly. I love chiropractic because I love to improve how the nervous system operates. And it's almost like the vital force of the body.
Yeah.
And so it can really help us align with optimal energies for us.
But when you say chiropractor, to most people who maybe haven't had a wide experience with it, it is cracking the back.
Correct.
Right. And is that what you're talking about with adjusting the nervous system? I think my understanding is you go well beyond that.
Right. So my clinic name is Beyond Chiropractic.
Well, that explains it.
And I specialize in applied kinesiology. And
Explain that for anyone who might not know.
So that's muscle testing, and it helps. It's how I communicate with the body to see the priority. So people, when they come in, are going to have some kind of challenge, if it's going to be pain or if it's going to be depression, insomnia. And so I can look to see if there's a food sensitivity or a hidden infection, if there's a subluxation or an interference in the nervous system. I also look to see if there's some emotional piece.
How do you look to see if there's an emotional piece?
Well, I look into, first of all, we do the history. So that's pretty telling, particularly if you're looking for that as an option. There are certain points on the body that are associated with emotions, and then of course I always say, does that resonate with you? The person comes in, the patient comes in, and we work together, right? I just hold a space of love for them so that they can feel safe, and I'll tell them what I think needs to happen or what they need to do, but many times we work on it together because they really want to come in. I work with people who, again, have been so many different places that they're ready to look at the emotional or spiritual aspect of it.
Do many of them find that that's a foreign place to be working with someone who is a provider of healthcare, as opposed to being told what to do?
I think that the people that find me are ready. There's a few. There's some who say, I'm not ready to deal with that part of my life yet. Okay, well, let me know when you are. Because if they want the straight chiropractor, they're not going to find that with me.
Yeah. So can you tell me a story of someone who has come to you with an issue, be it physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and an evolution that they've experienced?
Well, I was working with this one very lovely young woman, and she was in my office waiting for the massage therapist, and she was crying, and so we ended up talking, and she has a lot of anxiety, and she was raised in a pretty difficult upbringing, and it racked her world. And so we did a lot of QNRT, which is something that I have an advanced training in, which is quantum Neuro Reset Therapy, which works with the subconscious emotion and how we can reset the hypothalamus to eliminate the triggers. So we did a lot of work, and she literally became a different person just over a period of about a year. Not crying all the time, able to sleep, and all of her joint pain that she'd had for years and years was gone. Wow. Cute story, I had this woman come in for low back pain and just wanted some adjusting. She'd been running, and she comes in and she's kind of meek, and she's like, you know, my husband, he's kind of mean, and I'm like, is he mean? And she said, yeah. I said, you know what, let's do some QNRTs, right? Because emotions were locked up in there.
Yeah.
And so we did about 8 of them. And she comes back, and I hadn't seen her in a little while. She comes back and she's like, well, my husband thinks that I'm mean. I said, why is that? And she said, because I'm telling him how I feel now, because he was a bully. And so a lot of relationship stuff like that, that's fun. But in the meantime, we're also getting rid of the pain.
Yeah.
I'll always check for food sensitivities, hidden infections. One thing that's really interesting is how an emotion can hold a certain vibration that keeps an infection or a food sensitivity or some kind of toxic reaction in the body. It's just like it can't leave if that vibration is there. A real popular one that people have is Candida. Common, not popular, but
Yeah.
a real common infection is Candida, but that's deeply buried emotional stress. So let's think about that for a minute. So if we treat that with a homeopathic or a nutrient that is known to eradicate Candida, and it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back, what's the emotional piece that we're missing?
Yeah.
And so that has been a real helpful thing to add to my practice, is dealing with that subconscious emotional piece.
And but Candida is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Well, so then it's kind of fun. So then because I'm big picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super big picture.
Yeah.
People have already gotten the solutions that haven't worked that are inside the box. So we need to go outside of the box and about up on top of the IDS tower. We really want to see kind of the big picture, because that's really what it is. And so if people come in with a Candida infection, it can be deeply buried emotional stress, which is the actual Candida piece of it. Or it can be sugar, which is I want to feel better, I want to do better. It could be a food that's causing it to upset the gut, to cause the inflammation, to throw the pH off, which makes Candida live there. So it's so variable and so amazing to just kind of walk through that with the patient and see what's really at the root.
Yeah.
And
You're really part private investigator.
I am.
Yeah.
I really am. I love it because no one's the same.
Yeah.
And I don't ever approach anyone as the same. And I had a young boy come in yesterday, and he's been golfing more because he's had more time, and so he's got back pain and he wanted to get adjusted. I said, okay. So the only 2 things that he really had, he's young, were insomnia and depression. Well, we went way deep into that and realized what he needed to work on in terms of being able to sleep and not have nightmares. And so we look at liver toxicity, we looked at infection, structural, and it's so beautiful to be able to flow with each patient as to what they really need at that moment. Because we could have a subconscious emotion coming up, we could have a joint issue, oftentimes related, and then we could do something into the spiritual realm too.
Speaking of emotions, how does it make you feel to be this particular doctor?
I am so happy.
Yeah.
I was talking to my husband last night and I said, I love my job. I love my patients. It is so much fun to do what I do.
Think about that component, though, to have love present in a room where someone's talking to you. You bring a problem to somebody, you bring an issue that hasn't found a solution yet, and you're talking to somebody who's holding love in a room. How rare is that?
Well, I don't see it very often.
Yeah.
You know, when I do, when I test people, muscle test, I always, if I'm working with them in, if they're kind of struggling with something, and you asked how do I pick up the emotional piece, I'll muscle test. So you can say, my name is Erika, strong. My name is Louise, weak, because the nervous system knows.
Right.
So you can ask, or make the statement, I'm loved, I'm lovable, I'm loving. And that's something I end all my sessions with, is to make sure that those are strong. Because that is, all there is love.
Yeah.
And a loving place to go to. So if you can hold someone in that space, they flourish.
Yeah. For someone to feel lovable, to me, feels like unfortunate rarity.
It is unfortunate, but the opposite of lovable is shame. I'm a bad person. It's written on our chalkboard. Somehow. Sometimes these come through the ancestry. These are not just from childhood. There's a lot of data showing that it's 3 to 14 steps back in the ancestry for how long, if it's a continued pattern. And then we look at some of the religions, some of the parenting styles that really do push that, and we begin to believe it. And maybe that's, again, what we come here to experience, so that we can learn that we are lovable. And all there is love.
Do you think that there is an opportunity in this moment in time, generally speaking, for greater shift, tremendous shift, for people to really see change in their world and in their lives?
Well, I think that people who are here now, that's why they're here. I mean, my goal is to help people raise their vibrations, physical, spiritual, and emotional, so that they can exponentially raise the vibration of the planet, because we need that now more than ever. We've come here in this time to help shift the planet. It needs it so much.
And I guess that's probably a good entree into Community for Higher Consciousness. What brings you to that particular group? Why is it important?
As I've grown and developed more gifts and talents, there is nothing more important than moving into higher consciousness. If we stay stuck, we stay in pain, we stay miserable, and we don't come here to grow and to ascend into a higher vibration. It's crucial. I work with the human spirit and the human body. That's my passion.
Is there anything that you would say to somebody who is experiencing their own amount of stress in any particular way, who's considering opening up to you or another member of the Community for Higher Consciousness? Is there anything that you would offer to them as encouragement? Or
I would listen to your inner voice. I think we really shut that down. I think we're trained to in so many ways. I think that's what childhood can leave us with, is shutting down our voice. But when you hear that still small voice in the back of your head, it's not loud and it very often doesn't repeat itself. Follow that. When thinking about what my gifts are, I would say that my greatest gift is unconditional love. Because if you can, I offer that space, zero judgment. People come in and they talk about a lot of different things and they're feeling shy about it. But you cannot have health, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, in a place of judgment or in a place of, well, anything other than love as far as and compassion. Mm-hmm. And I feel that being led to do this work through my past experiences and through working with so many amazing patients has really been a gift.
You found your spot.
I found my spot.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.